Finally, we have a game to talk about in a fun, casual joint. We are at Roosters. We are in the Horseshoe Lounge. We're hanging out with Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Nicole Cox. I am Austin Ward, and Ohio State is 1-0. That's all.
Yep.
That's all.
Nicole
almost
going
I thought Nicole was going to jump in with how close her score prediction was before I said 52-6, but she didn't.
Pretty great. I'm pretty bummed. I thought
she was super pumped on Saturday. I picked that score.
I thought I was spot on, but I wasn't. I was off by 4.
Didn't know how to break it to her. Just missed it by 4. I had 56-0, so I missed it as well. But you had 56-6.
Yep.
52-6. The Buckeyes are winners. But I think for week 1, Bob, what more can you ask?
Maybe
perfection.
Maybe a faster start.
Faster start. Okay.
I mean, the 3-and-out at the beginning, and you get J.J. Smith dropping the pass, and it's like, and you're like, wait, 3-and-out, and then I honestly had to go back and watch the first 2 series because I had left. I was outside, and I came back in. I'm thinking, okay, worst case, I'll come in and see a highlight of like a 30-yard touchdown pass. Yeah. I come in, I'm like, Akron was kicking a field goal, and I'm like, did they get the ball first? And like, no, we went 3-and-out. I'm like, how did they get down here? And it's like, okay, we get a scramble. You get a scramble, and then the onion.
Yeah,
Roosters feathers.
Wow, those are hot.
They are
hot off the grill.
Mm-hmm.
But you get the scramble. You get a late hit on that. Maybe another little scramble. All of a sudden, there's like 40 yards. You kick a decent field goal. You're down 3-0. So it created that nice little sense of urgency. I think that everybody was looking for.
A little adversity. Everybody.
So, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, maybe a faster start would have been the case, but other than that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the faster start was there. I mean, JJ would still be running right now if he'd have caught that ball. I mean, they had that thing blocked up perfectly, I think, downfield. So that was unfortunate because that opens up the game right away. You know, big play for the freshman who came back and had an awesome game, don't get me wrong. But that one, that hurt. And then there's a couple short yardage early on there. That's just like, you know, you almost had the PTSD of last year, the years prior.
Wants to go right to the offensive line.
Well, I mean, that's the start of the game, you know. I mean, that's just kind of how it went. And we found ourselves in kind of the same predicaments a little bit. Not that they didn't get their act together, and wore them down and started picking things up. But I don't want to use the word embarrassing, but none of us thought our starters should be playing in the fourth quarter of this game, right? And they were. Now we were up handily at that point in time, and they were getting some extra plays in. And
they rotate. Here's the thing: you just look at the offense. They had rotated guys on the defense.
That's all
in the
I
second,
care about.
It's all. There you go. They had rotated guys aplenty in the first quarter, second quarter.
I'm not worried about the defense, Bob.
Yeah. Well, everybody's like, oh, they kept the guys in. I go, Arvell Reese was in the second quarter.
No.
And you were already down a linebacker and Cody Simon who didn't play.
Sure. Yep.
So you got Arvell Reese out there. You've got, Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Kerr. I mean, and those guys technically backups, I guess. Mitchell Mountain. They were rolling. McDonald. I mean, all these guys were in there playing early and playing often. Defensively, and those guys had warranted playing time. They deserved it. They had earned it, and they were playing very well. So offensively, but also you were without.
It's not the end of the world. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, you were without Donovan Jackson 100%. On the offensive line, who you could argue is the best offensive lineman on Ohio State and will probably be the highest drafted. So you get him out there, maybe that changes things a little bit. But you are right in what you're saying, and that there was some things like a little bit early. Hopefully they'll start and pick that thing up a little bit faster next week.
Nicole, how'd you feel on Saturday?
Well, guys, we still won.
Oh.
Like, let's remember
we won
that.
bigly, too.
We don't need to be
picky.
terrible. We don't have to. I just feel everybody needs to remember that we had new guys out there that hadn't all played at Ohio State and hadn't all really played in a game together before. And I think we need to talk about, too, that there were mistakes, like Jeremiah Smith dropping the ball, but I also think he's like, whoa, don't want to do that again. And then he was playing incredibly, So I think it's normal for us and it's okay. Like our defense is better than our offense because we're working on getting the perfect, team of offensive line, just that side of the ball in general. And I think we're there. I think we've found our people and they just needed to kind of figure it out. And they did. They turned it around so quickly. And I think that's something that people just need to recognize, and Will Howard just, he made that pass that didn't look so great, that Trevion,
It wasn't technically a pass.
No,
it was backwards.
Ill-advised lateral.
That was about the only bad play he had,
it was
trying to win. Make a play.
But he's amazing for just admitting, I'm not doing that again. It was a mistake. And I admire that. I mean, these are, again, they're kids. They're going to make mistakes. And it was their very first game ever as a Buckeye.
I think sometimes everybody, but myself certainly included, think, well, this team is so talented. They're huge favorites against Akron. It's the opener. They should just go out and roll. And
you base it against the Michigan State game.
Well,
like the 49-0 at half, where literally.
But that's also in November compared to week 1. That's my
exactly.
Like
that's what people base it off of. Me included.
You two, have been through this, and you know what it's like to go through a training camp and then get to the opener. And you probably think, well, I had a great camp. We are Ohio State. You're gonna roll and dominate. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of things that are new. You're finally you see some different schemes in an opener than you might be expecting.
100%.
I mean, just ask Oregon and Idaho or Michigan and Fresno State. There's plenty of examples of teams that didn't even ever kick it into gear the way Ohio State did in the second half. So I certainly understand that we're going to look and scrutinize the things that didn't go well, didn't start off that fast. Maybe the offensive line is going to need to play better down the stretch or against better opponents. I don't think any of that stuff is wrong, but I also don't think that in week 1 it has to look ideal, because if you play a perfect game in week 1, where are you going to go from there? Like, it'd be great. That'd be harder to sustain probably.
So
that's why I'm on the show too, guys, just so you know, to remind us all.
The standard is the standard. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you going right to your ace.
Coming for it.
Bam. Everybody had high expectations. And the thing is, they got to where they needed to get to. It didn't feel as good as you would have liked. And believe me, I get it. That's honestly, I looked at Will Howard and think, okay, it's 17-6. Was it 17-3 at that point?
It was 17-3 at halftime.
17-3. And we'll go down, score 24-3. Then all is right in the world. Feels good. You're on your way. Get a couple series out of the second half, and you're out. And the fact that they didn't get that going, I think that was a third down play, if I'm not mistaken, correct? And I think that was him. Like, you want to talk about a live scenario. I think they had that pressure on themselves. It's a 2-minute situation. Let's go. All of a sudden, it's third down. Things are going the way you expected. I'm getting sacked. Like, there's Trey in the middle of the field. I'll just throw it back to him. And that's good to kind of work through some of that and have a little adversity early on. And the thing was, nationally, it's remarkable how this stuff changed. When you have a guy like J.J. Smith, like, he's the shiny new toy. And so, it's 17-3. But we'll just show his touchdown passes. And look, Ohio State's dominant. Because if in the past, it'd be like, look at them struggling, getting stuffed on third down. Look at Will Howard, fifth-year transfer quarterback, throwing it back across the field at the end of a play.
6 for 16.
Looking like me, drunk on a Friday night trying to make a play. Like, what are we doing? And then all of a sudden, the narrative, like, oh, look, rolling. Then they click back in. 3 more touchdowns, third quarter, Buckeyes roll, everything's good. Look at this offense, look at that. And so the narrative nationally was really stinking good, despite the fact that you're watching a game like, this didn't feel quite as good as I would have liked.
That's a great point, Bob, but it's endlessly fascinating to me how the national narrative is almost always the opposite of what we're talking about here. And in this case, it was the national narrative of Jeremiah Smith's arrival and Will Howard finishing with, the 3 touchdown passes and running the football. And like, here they go. They're ready. The all-star team is assembled. And then we sit here on a Tuesday, thanks to Labor Day.
The comments, my mentions were just getting blown up. Yeah. Offensive line, terrible. Linebacker, tight ends, no catches. I'm like, they threw to him 3 times. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like they targeted him 20.
They weren't highlighting the tight ends. Yeah.
And I heard Ryan Day mention this earlier on Tuesday before we came in here to have some onion feathers on appetizer.
Not going to be any left.
Yeah, they're going to be gone. And Nicole had, from the coaches show, the Roosters coaches show on Thursday, been listening to Ross Bjork, and we'd had this conversation about the importance of fun. And winning is fun. Scoring touchdowns is fun. Blocking people is pretty fun. Getting to your goals is fun. But Ryan Day also brought it up and echoed some of the things that you heard from Ross Bjork on Thursday. It's like, maybe a different level of appreciation for everyone might be beneficial. I don't know. The standard is still going to be the standard. I don't think we can debate that part. You might.
Well, as you guys know, I texted you right after the coaches show. I was so extremely impressed with Ross and what he spoke about and just how he said, almost, I don't want to say bring down the standard. That's not, but I also want to say, like, we're not setting the standard so high that you can't even reach it. I mean, like today, starting out the show, like, well, we could have been better in the beginning. Yeah, I mean, we're growing, and it's good to get these things out at the beginning. But Ross just said we need to do one game at a time. And literally, like you said, Ryan Day today just totally echoed that. He said the same exact thing, one game at a time. And we need to actually enjoy it and have fun doing it, as opposed to just focusing on all what's being said around us. Be in the game and remember why they're there. They love it. That's why these guys play. You know, they've loved it their whole lives. So I don't know. It was just really neat to hear Ross kind of set the tone for everyone and be like, hey, let's not all of a sudden be like, oh, well, we're out for the national championship. There's no way we're going to win that. You know, it's like one game at a time, guys. Let's do that. And I do feel Ross is kind of like the final piece to our puzzle. Just with that mindset and the way he was supporting Ryan Day, you know, I don't know. It just felt really great.
I mean, it's awesome. I mean, we also have to sit and think of all the new players that we had. I mean, new starters that were going out on that field, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side, just guys who got here last spring, who you know, been through a couple of spring ball and camp. And then now, hey, you're out in front of 100,000 people. You've never been in front of 100,000 people before. We expect you to go out there and be flawless. And, you know, I was watching that first half. I feel like, you know, the game speed is a little bit notched up than what you're practicing, you know, and I think everybody is just a little bit on edge there just start. And then they know the expectations. They want to be perfect. They want this and that. And then it doesn't go that way. It just doesn't look great. The good thing is they kept in it and they made it look great as they got better throughout that game and started taking advantage of things. But they were having fun. They're going to have fun. Everybody has fun when you win. so, I mean, I'm sure Ross says that.
Is winning fun? Like sometimes
Nick Saban never had fun when he won
but sometimes like you have to remember that winning is fun. Yeah. And there was a passage from the gratitude section of the winner's manual, Justin, that said, shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars.
I remember that one.
And so the standard is going to be the standard. If you're close to it, like, let's appreciate the proximity that you got close to it.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Bobby.
Well, you can still celebrate and say, we're not good enough, but it wasn't like they played a poor game. It wasn't like they went out there and lost. Yeah. They did a lot of things really well. There's areas of improvement. It's not fully acceptable, and I don't know if you'll ever play a game like perfect game.
Yeah, hey, we don't have anything to do next week.
Take the tape,
you guys got the week
load
off.
it up. We're not even going to watch this bad boy. We don't need to see a thing. Everybody did exactly what they were supposed to do the entire time. That's never going to happen. And so Ross's element, and he's coming from Ole Miss and, you know, Texas A&M, where it's like these guys would love. I mean, Texas A&M would have loved to have gotten a win. Now, granted, they played Notre Dame, but if they were at home, they would have loved to have beat Notre Dame at home. Right. They had a chance to do it. Notre Dame came out and played well. Yeah. You go look at some of the teams who underperformed. You mentioned Oregon. You mentioned Michigan. Talk about Florida State in their last 2 weeks. I mean, they had a chance to right the wrong. And, I mean, it felt a little bit like I was watching Ohio State, Oregon, circa 2021, watching that game last night. So there's elements that could change all of those things. And they found a way. They got to win. They looked about how they were supposed to look. Maybe it didn't look like that from soup to nuts, but the majority of it was the way it was supposed to be. They're going to continue to do that. And I was just listening to Austin on 97.1 The Fan, talking to Anthony Rothman earlier about how do you think if they would have started faster, you would have gotten Julian Sayin in quicker?
Oh, boy.
You know, and it's like, well, and maybe some of the other guys, it's like, well, are we really trying to develop depth right now, or do we want to make sure that we have a cohesive unit for the starters and the veteran players? And I think that's a astute point as well.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
A lot of these guys never played together. Yeah. So while you want to build depth and let's get guys in, and defensively in certain positions it's easier to do that, you do want to make sure that some of these positions develop that cohesion that you're looking for.
Yeah, Ryan Day was asked about that with the playing a third quarterback in his press conference earlier on Tuesday, and I'm like, how are we trying to microwave to this next step? We're skipping things. Like, it's week one. We
wake up, it's 49-0.
Yeah.
Middle of the third quarter, Ryan. Who are we putting in the game for the next series?
I don't personally, and I can't control what anybody else thinks or how they evaluate what happened on Saturday. I don't want to skip the steps here.
It's amazing because people on social media think you can do that. If I yell loud enough, you'll think what I want you to.
Yeah. I've been guilty of that in the past. I don't think, to Nicole's point, in some respects, that's appreciating what's going on. If this is a national championship team, well, week one is installing the foundation of the offense, and they're going to put more things in week 2, and they're going to get Donovan Jackson back at some point. They're going to play with Cody Simon. Like, we don't have to be thinking about who's going to start at quarterback in 2025.
Scored 2 defensive touchdowns. They only had 11 turnovers last year.
They had 3 on Saturday. So some of those guys might even be in the Roosters Buckeye Leaf.
Who picked Denzel Burke for the turnovers? Was that Berm? Berm picking for interceptions.
That can't be right.
I think it was.
No,
I think I took Lathan Ransom maybe. Maybe he took Hancock? I don't know.
I took Jordan Hancock for sure. But we have
– Lathan didn't get a pick 6, but he did get a scoop.
That's close enough. So sounds like Bob's giving Lathan Ransom a Buckeye Leaf. But, Nicole, where are you?
9 tackles as well. That's a big day.
He was a silver bullet of the day.
Yeah.
Defense looked incredible. I mean, just incredible. I thought they were amazing, and I think that's what we all expected. But I could do a Schlegel and just give it to the entire O-line. Yeah. More for the fact I'm just very proud of them for playing for the first time together and coming together and learning from their mistakes, seeing their mistakes, and just working towards getting the rhythm, and Travion, like, helping Will out and just being there because he kind of,
It's a pretty good blitz pickup. Yeah.
It was just, you could see the support. You could see that they were all really trying, and I'm just proud of them for that. And I do think there is so much talent there. And I was just going to give it to Will Howard. You could tell he was just trying to get in the groove of things, but then he just pulled it all together and just looked great. And again, like I said about him, just, admitting, hey, I made a bad play, like it was a bad choice. It just happened. And I mean, there's nothing better than people that can just admit their mistakes and learn from them. I think that's what is a core thing of having a great team.
Yeah, I mean, he could have tried to rationalize it and say, we were looking for a spark, and I saw a ton of room for I'm just saying he could have tried to rationalize it.
Scoop and score for the other team would be good right about now.
But he didn't. He took accountability.
A famous poet once said, "Get into the groove. Boy, you've got to prove your love to me." Mm-hmm. All right? Maybe that's the groove he was trying to get into with Trey. I'm not sure.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. Well, we could ask him next week.
You could ask him, yes.
Berm did ask him what was going through his mind, and he did not seem to really want to go down that road and relive it. Just said he made a bad decision.
As soon as that ball left his hand, he said to himself, "You idiot. What did you just do?"
He probably used stronger language.
Yeah, well, yes.
And it's okay.
It's okay because Trey dove on it.
Well, exactly.
It didn't get
it worked
scooped up.
out, and I guarantee he will not make that mistake. I mean, I'm like 99% sure.
As long as he learns from it,
not make that mistake again.
I've got 2 Buckeye Leaves. I'm going to give one to my guy Lathan because he's one of my favorites. 9 tackles, fumble recovery, touchdown for a guy who came back. Was last year what he break his foot? He's had a broken leg. He's had a million injuries. The guy's one of the top-notch humans you will meet. Incredibly smart. Yes. I said he is going to be the key to that defense. Him and Cody getting everybody lined up and getting in the right checks all the time. He gets one. I'm going to give one to Sonny Styles, too, because Sonny just went over and played Mike, and it's like, hey, do this. Even though you just learned Will, play Mike, too. And people are like kind of passing over that. Like, the guy hasn't been playing linebacker that long, just really the last six months.
And now you have to play at Mike.
Now you're making the calls, the helmet communication.
I don't think people understand the level of difficulty between those two positions.
Oh, yeah. And you go from just hearing things from Cody, who's played a ton of football, at linebacker, smart, leader, all those things, then you have to be that guy. Okay? And so you went from just the co-pilot helping relay, now you're the signal guy. So that was a lot, and I don't feel like that's probably being talked about enough. And he played a pretty good game, by the way, as well. And then lastly, the guy there, leave no doubt, knock him out. Our guy, Trey Henderson, had a couple nice runs. I think those were kind of undersold. I mean, he's close to popping one. But really, the block and then diving on the football, like those are things that don't get a lot of talk. And especially a running back, you're like, it's running the football, touchdowns, this and that. I mean, sealing up in front of you when they're running a Mike Will cross dog and you take the first guy.
Coming straight down at you. And
I got hit by a car, stumbled, fell down. And then, honestly, having the wherewithal and the knowledge on maybe it's a lateral, maybe it's not. It was a lateral, but he probably didn't know that at the time. Yeah. To dive on that, salvage
he could have given up on the play. And,
punt on it. Like, that's a fourth-year senior running back who, could have, came back for all the right reasons. If he didn't and didn't want to be here, he'd be like, I'm out of this play. Like, I'm not diving back on that thing, and then all of a sudden, poof, David Copperfield, they got the ball kicking a field goal at best. At worst, they're scoring a touchdown. So Lathan, but the other two guys I felt like didn't really get the credit they deserve for things that work around the periphery that kind of make it go.
Yeah, okay. I like that.
The puzzle is complete, you guys. I'm telling you right now today. I don't know.
You're sold.
Feel
You're
like
sold. Done.
I just think
all the way, Natty or bust.
I just
think
everyone we have.
Puzzle.
I think I mean it. Like everyone we have, just watching them work together. And don't get me wrong. Like I've always felt we've been great, but I just feel this group. There's a different vibe inside that Woody. There's leadership. There's I don't know. They all trust one another. It's
Blocko
really,
energy.
Blocko energy.
It is.
Wow, this is the most over the top Nicole praise we've had for the Buckeyes on this show. I love it.
Guys, that's why I'm here.
She's bought in.
Jay-Z, do you have a Buckeye Leaf?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to throw out a few.
Okay.
One, I'll take Will Howard because I think for him to come in with the expectation, all the all that on his shoulders of, hey, you're this veteran guy, you've done this before. I think he answered the bell. I came away from that game saying quarterback is not going to be an issue of ours this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is, as long as he stays healthy, all that good stuff. I think he really showed some good poise. He threw the ball well, put it on spots, gave his receivers chances. There's some things you can clean up with the receivers, maybe different angles that they took to the sideline where he was throwing the ball to, but that'll come. I think he really played well. Of course, JJ, nobody's answered or said anything about him yet. I know Nicole wanted to maybe go that route before the show, but for a freshman to do what he did, I mean, well, yeah, but that dude is legit. I mean, if he catches that ball on third down, first drive, he's 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards receiving for his opener. So that's pretty awesome. This is a little bit different. I'm gonna go with Brandon Ennis on a Buckeye Leaf because, I mean, the returns. He was out there running around with his hair on fire. It felt like I saw something online of. I think we had 23 returns last year for 74 yards. He had 4 returns for 60 yards in the first game. I think he's going to be a big part of that return game this year if he keeps going the way he did. So I think he gets one because I think that could be a weapon for us, and I think he could be that guy back there.
Overdue.
And one last one is just an honorary Buckeye Leaf to the quarterback from Akron because he got his he got his butt whooped by that D-line and that defense all day long, and just I don't know if he knew where he was, but he kept getting back up and fighting the huddle, and he was.
They weren't really a lot of them were headshots. They were more.
Well, I know, but his body was just
here. Right here.
But that just affects
not
everything.
Here or here so much, but
you just see him on the sidelines, and he's like,
dude. When Jack came down, Jack came down on that one time like that. That hurt. That did not feel 100%. Good. I can't believe they put him back out there.
There's a couple times I thought that, like he's still out there.
You trying to win any other games this year? Because this dude's going to need to be in an ice bath for a month.
Bill and I were talking about that on Tuesday in the Woody. Is like, how many quarterbacks is Jack Sawyer going to knock out of games this year? Like he's on another level right now.
And he didn't get a sack, but he was
there though,
right there every time.
Pressure on.
He definitely wanted credit for at least one of them that he flushed out, and like he was kind of mad that he didn't, but he'll have plenty of opportunities moving forward. I actually wanted to give one to Jeremiah Smith as well, not just because of the debut and the 2 touchdowns, and as Bob said, we've certainly given him plenty of attention already, but I think the fact that it started with a reminder that he's human, that he also is a true freshman, and he has the drop, and then he follows that up with a penalty, like Ohio State. Yeah, you're a true freshman. Maybe you sit down for the second drive or, have a good conversation with Brian Hartline. Nope, nobody said anything. And Jeremiah Smith goes right back out there and was critical on drive number 2, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 4, and then 3rd and 6 for the touchdown. They went right back to him.
Too. He made it look so easy.
And look, that I don't know that any of us are surprised by that. We've seen him in practice.
Yeah, fair.
We know the way that Ohio State's talking about it, but he had to go out and offer a reminder right away. And maybe there's going to be times that it's not perfect, but he corrected it. You're not going to see him probably, to Nicole's point, make those mistakes again. The guy's unbelievable, but he did have to respond to an early challenge, which I think maybe, validates some of the mental makeup and all the other things we've heard about his work ethic.
Gary Danielson said he hadn't dropped a ball since 6th grade, so that's the first ball he's probably dropped since 6th grade. And they kind of laugh about it, and then
it's probably the first screen he's dropped.
15 minutes later, it's like, look at that touchdown catch.
Well, and it's great. Now he's gotten it out of the way, and we won't have to worry about it again for the season.
Yeah. So. Standard's a standard. But even Marv dropped footballs. Let's be real. That's going to happen occasionally to wide receivers.
Usually the easy ones, which is kind of what
that's the weird part, right? Because the 3rd and 10 right after that was not easy. Will Howard had to extend the play. I think Jeremiah Smith had to break that. I don't know if it was full scramble rules or whatever, but he had to find to work himself open, and he did a great job of that. So that was key, especially because you don't want to start with back-to-back 3-and-outs, Bob. You missed the first one there. Like if the first quarter's now.
Well, I know. I mean, I was expecting 28-0 when they flip sides.
Yeah.
Like that was not.
Like we were talking about them getting one in the third quarter here.
But one of the other things about Will, I would like to throw this because I talked to a lot of people nationally, and they're like, "Well, wait till he doesn't throw a good deep ball. He does." They were telling me about all the things he doesn't do well. I'm like, the guy's a pretty good athlete. I watched him win a lot of games. Yeah. Does he throw it like C.J. Stroud? Maybe not, but not many people do.
Yeah,
and he looked pretty good. Like his deep ball to Jeremiah or JJ was good.
Quarter, yeah.
His ball to Mecca was. By the way, he got screwed out of a touchdown on that one. But I thought he threw the ball pretty well once he settled in, especially after those first 3 or 4, which there were a couple drops in there.
Yep.
But in the second half, 7 for 7. You eliminate those first 4 or 5, and then he was locked in and rolling.
Yeah. He was. And then that got Ohio State up to the 52-6 finish, which was close to 56-6.
Yes.
So now we'll find out what Nicole has in store for a score prediction on Saturday in primetime, Ohio State and Western Michigan.
42-10.
42-10.
Yes.
Okay. A little tighter game.
42-10 or 4-0-2-10?
42.
42. Okay.
Your
Bobby
number.
Carpenter to 10. Gotcha.
That's it.
And they also have Roosters onion.
There were feathers in here. Where did they go?
He housed them.
They're gone.
No, I'm taking these
We can
with
get
me.
some
You
more.
can't have them.
I might know
$3.
some people. We'll
Know
get
some
some more
people?
for you
Okay.
guys.
They're
Those
delicious.
are
Hey, we got our first drawing too.
Ooh.
We did.
For the
We
Buckeye
did.
giveaway. Boom.
We
Does
did,
the winner?
guys.
Does the winner know
Picked
yet?
them all yesterday. No,
Got 4
I'm
winners.
going to call them when I leave here. Yep.
Oh boy. So
Well, I'm
hey,
sitting right here. You can just tell me
swear.
right now, Nicole.
No, Jay-Z, you didn't win. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. It was yeah.
Because there were
Dang it.
4 million other people
Well, fair
competing
enough.
for
It's
it,
a numbers
so-
game.
it's a numbers game.
There weren't that many.
I only got in once.
Yeah, I know.
But hey,
Well, that's your fault.
I know
because you
that's
can
my
register every
Every
single
day.
day
That's my fault. Yes.
at
I'm
roosterswings.com.
gonna take this napkin home, and put it on my mirror, so when I wake up in the morning.
Yes.
when is the next drawing? Nicole, it'll be
Ooh,
October.
yes,
or early. It's early October.
I want to say the 14th. Sorry, guys. I should know that off the top of my head.
That's okay. But yeah, you'll have more
You got
chances
time.
to win.
Mhm.
4 more winners will be drawn again. So make sure, boom, get the QR code,
Yes.
roosterswings.com. 4 more great prizes. I think this one has a bucket to get to the playoff game.
Yes, the postseason game.
I like
It
the
won't be
rec-
the Big
the
Ten
postseason game.
championship. It will be
Something.
basically
A postseason.
It'll be a game.
Mhm.
There you
Yes.
go.
That's all you need to know.
Which
Bing,
is
bang.
great.
Someone
you're gonna
won
wanna go
tickets
for
and
it.
airfare and everything to the Oregon game.
They did. They
It's
did.
exciting.
They get to find out later today, which is Appetizer 3's Day, because Roosters was closed to celebrate the holiday.
That's
We
right.
were.
A great Labor Day for all
Giving these
families.
great people some time off with their family.
They
I did a
deserve
lot of
it.
work
They do
yesterday.
deserve it. You were laboring on Labor Day, Bob. Of course you were.
Someone had to do it.
You always have to. You're the man for that job. We appreciate Nicole Cox and Roosters, as always, for having us in here for a fun, casual conversation at a fun, casual joint. She is going to go on with the rest of her day, and Berm's going to be here. He's probably going to be pretty optimistic, but we'll find out after this.
Hey, Buckeye fans! As the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics, Roosters is kicking off an incredible giveaway you won't want to miss. This football season, we're giving away 12 ultimate Buckeye experiences. 3 drawings, 12 winners with prizes including tickets, sideline passes, and 2 trips to a Buckeye playoff game. Go to roosterswings.com to register and see all the details. 3 drawings, 12 amazing prizes. Register today and every day. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Welcome back into Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint, and they are running low on onion feathers because it is Appetizer 3's Day, and Bobby is just attacking and dominating his way through the baskets. Berm, what'd you eat?
Mac and cheese bites.
Oh,
and
really?
5 boneless wings tossed in barbecue and nuclear.
That was the
Just a little mixing it up.
oil
huh?
or grease today.
It was really well done on the
Yeah, nice batch.
on the mac and cheese bites on Tuesday. I mean, it's every appetizer
Yes.
Tuesday is mac and cheese bites for me, but here we are. It's Onion Day.
Onion feathers.
I don't know. I'm not sure exactly when or who decided that onions should be a standalone appetizer,
Oh, really?
but I think it was the Australians, and I'm pissed about it.
Wait, what
The
did they
blooming
do?
onion, probably. Right?
exactly.
From the
those,
outback.
those guys.
Yeah, from the outback.
There was
like,
no rules there.
They're
It's
like,
just
mate, you know what we should do, mate? Is fry an onion, bro.
Fry this thing.
That's not Australian accent.
Whatever.
It is.
Sounded pretty good
No,
to me.
he goes down this road every time
Put
and he
another
starts
shrimp
talking
on the
like
They end up-
Lilliputian
They
bruv.
Okay, is
They-
there a difference between
Australia and
a
England?
trash British accent and an Australian accent? All the people are in Australia were all the prisoners that they shipped down there and
Yeah,
put them
right.
into a prison colony.
That's right. It's probably either way. I'm not sure. I really believe that onions are like a standalone appetizer.
Okay.
Here we
Well,
are.
here at Roosters,
It's
they
2024. and
These
in
are
the
That's the
onions.
only way I eat onions.
They're
is
feathers.
that they're fried and feathered.
So
And they're delicious.
I noticed
100%.
as I was listening to you guys give your Buckeye leaves
Uh-huh.
for the game, you took every player on the team.
No, there's
No,
there's a
You
few
took
we
6
left.
different players.
There's plenty
I
left.
took 3.
Nobody
2
went.
guys that
22
weren't.
started the game.
I'm actually a little annoyed because you picked my guy that I was going to pick, but it was
Who?
I was going to
Which one?
talk
Trey?
about Sonny Styles because
Trey or
I
Sonny? Okay.
I really think that it's
He only
not,
gave him like half of
If
a
you
lead,
would have
so-
told me, I would have let you
Yeah,
have it. I just
that
wanted
was
him
just
to
a
get
late
some
add-in,
flowers.
yeah.
I don't think
100%.
that it's something that people are going to really understand how difficult what he did in the last 10 days was. And the other one, you took both of them actually. The story,
The unsung
the
heroes.
story of Saturday to me, and we talked about it on Snap Judgments right after the game, was guys who people have
Snappy
sort of
Jays.
just overlooked and said, you know what? Well, now Quinshon Judkins is here,
Yeah.
and now Caleb Downs is here. So who cares about Travion Henderson and Lathan Ransom? And those two were very, very good on Saturday,
Yeah.
and it's nice to have a little reminder that just because the Buckeyes bought an All-American team
Oh boy.
in the transfer portal,
No,
that
not
the
this.
players who came back who were not purchased from the transfer portal are really freaking good. And Lathan Ransom, when he's healthy, is a difference maker.
Yeah.
And has been since 2020.
He
And,
started as a freshman.
yeah,
He
like
was the nickel as
He's
a freshman.
always been a difference maker, and I think it's good that he gets some flowers. And somebody probably said Will Howard, right? I didn't hear
Yeah, we
exactly.
talked about him a little bit.
I want to give Will Howard Buckeye Leaves for one thing he's done in the last couple of weeks. That
Threw that
it's-
pass across the middle.
No, it just gives me
Taking a chance.
no. It's like
Living on the edge.
it's a feeling of like, man, I missed that from my guy. When you have your quarterback giving the presser at the end of the game or
Yeah.
last Tuesday or today, when he's walking off the stage and he says, "Go Bucks," I think that is for a kid who came out on Tuesday and said Saturday felt like an away game for me because he never played there.
Yeah.
Like
They weren't booing him.
Right.
Did they? I didn't go. I wasn't in stadium.
but
I don't think I heard any boober.
Good.
I think that there is something.
There was an unease in the first half.
There's something about Will Howard's way that I
Demeanor.
I hope people will come to truly appreciate because he is really, really great as a leader, and you can see it. You can see the way the guys respond to him. But just the
Make
little
the Buckeyes
just
great
the
again?
little go Bucks at the end, I
Yeah.
think is such a nice touch.
There's a confidence about him of a guy who's played
Played a
4
lot of
years
football.
of college football.
Yeah, he's
Guy who's won a conference
23
championship.
years old. And
I
It's-
just, I like
what
it.
he did is difficult. Coming in and like winning over a locker room and being the guy, going out there, expectations of a national championship, and he carries himself with like class and grace, but he's also ultra competitive.
Well, I tried to make that point last week going into the opener. I was like, you can't ask for more than what Will Howard gave Ohio State over the previous 8 months in terms of the leadership, winning over the locker room, earning the job, making sure that there was a clear separation on the depth chart, like all the things that you would want.
40 yards of rushing.
Whatever it is. But that was the 8 months prior. He still had to go do that on Saturday
Yeah.
in a game when that was going to be the first time doing that. And was that the ideal first half that he wanted to draw up? No, probably it wasn't. But I think there were plenty of positives in it that I think Ohio State fans, and not just Berm talking about the podium and all, like the complete package.
You mean the ones in the mentions in the comments section?
I think anybody. They don't have to feel this way, but I think that they should. There's plenty that you can feel.
Yeah, and
very good
I
about.
haven't seen I haven't really seen any negativity at all towards Will Howard.
People have been very positive.
So I mean, I think that
Not
last
very
year
much.
was a good reminder of how even good quarterback play, because Calvin McCord was a good quarterback.
Yeah, France said send some champagne to Ryan.
Calvin McCord
Hey,
he had a day on Saturday.
Calvin
Yeah.
McCord's a good quarterback, but I don't know that when you're at Ohio State, it can't be just about being a good quarterback. It has to be something
Go
bigger.
Bucks.
You got to get throughout the Go Bucks.
It
at the
has
end
to
of
be
your
something bigger. So
talks.
I think Will Howard deserves some kudos for just bringing a little bit of Buck positivity. I'm into that.
Well, then he brought play belong.
2024, and he brought the play to back it up.
Yeah, he did.
And then, of course, Arvell Reese deserves a Buckeye Leaf
yeah.
because he was the best linebacker on the field. And in a group of linebackers, 5-6 deep, who played on Saturday, none of them who'd ever really played linebacker at Ohio State before, to walk on a year removed after being a defensive end, 2 years removed after being a guy that people sort of believed was just like a throw-in in the recruiting class of 2023.
He was thin. I mean, was he like physically Berm? I mean, he didn't look like the guys.
You knew what he could be athletically, but then now you look at him and you're like, That is not what I expected out of Arvell Reese when you move him to linebacker. And now it looks like he's a guy you
look at his coach.
You have to keep him on the field. You have to keep him on the field.
He's earned it. And when you bring guys that never really play, he's tall, he's thin. He was playing defensive end. I'm like, you can teach him that later, like in the offseason. Let him play linebacker. And James fought, lobbied to get him out there. So he's like, what, he can be our 8th defensive end? Like, well, we can play this guy.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to see that. But you look at that. CJ Hicks had a sack. You talk about Sonny Styles playing well in the spring, all camp, rotating through, but like, hey, you're going to play Mike, run the coordination now. Arvell Reese playing really well. Gabe Powers getting a pick 6. Like, there was a lot of production from that
Peyton
unit.
Pierce looking like
yeah.
like the guys from the Iron Claw.
Yeah.
The Von Erichs.
He looks like Kerry Von Erich, dude.
He reminds me of Zach Thomas when he plays.
He looks like Kerry Von Erich.
He looks amazing.
He looks like the Texas Tornado.
Bob,
He is from Texas.
I know.
He laughed about the Heat last week, by the way.
Yes, that's nothing for him. When you look at this position, and we had some intrigue about how it was all going to play out with rotation and all those other things, like how does that change now that you've seen one game for them, Bob?
Well, it's that they've got a lot of versatility and they have a lot of options where you're not going to, if someone cannot play, it's not, oh, this is bad. Like, next guy we have in, how can we hide this guy? Mm-hmm. It's all right, what does this guy do well? Let's feature him this week in what we're trying to put together. And it's a physical position that's very demanding, like, of your body. And especially you play teams, they didn't run it a ton, but they're going to play Iowa. Granted, I saw they threw like 3 touchdown passes, which is like a season's worth. But Iowa's still going to line up and run the ball. Teams against Ohio State are going to try to run the ball to shorten the game because they don't want to deal with that defense, and you don't want to give the offense the ball back more. So if you can say, hey, listen, this is our first group. You're going to get like 65, 70%. And then among the rest of the guys, we'll have 3 or 4 guys that we can roll in over those others in packages and nickel stuff. Like C.J. Hicks can do a lot of, be a great third down sub guy. Get him in there and make sure he's rushing a lot. And just work all these guys through. Then if someone else goes down, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. Where last year, like, if Cody would have gotten hurt in one of those games where he was filling for Tommy or Steele,
yeah,
I mean, James would have been like,
probably to play himself.
Yeah, probably. Put myself in.
Give me the pads.
I'll do it. Just give me your helmet.
What is Buddy Moon or what's
Jackie Moon?
Jackie Moon.
Player coach.
So have to sub himself.
Player coach owner.
Yeah, sub himself. I mean, seriously, because they didn't have guys who were fully ready to go, and now you got a lot of options. And so you have the ability to play those guys in what's going to be a physical and most likely long season.
And I kind of feel the offensive line is the same way. I mean, you don't have your starter in there, but you get a young guy in who's going to get game, live bullets experience. Yeah. That's going to only be better towards the end of the year if anything does happen. But maybe it doesn't look great right now, but that's just good experience for them to be getting.
I didn't really think about it until Tuesday morning on my drive down, but like, if you think about all the new parts in the offense, it is understandable that there was a little bit of disconnect when it came to how they performed when you were going up against another team. Even Will Howard hasn't taken all the first team reps except for the last week and a half, So and then he goes
offensive line,
and he goes out there without 3 of his offensive linemen.
They spent the entire month.
I mean, it looked like you guys see make him go on the indoor with the table, the spacing, because all the guys had disease. It was like a leper colony out there. And so no one was practicing together. So it's good that young guys are getting more work. But as far as a cohesive unit, that's difficult.
Yeah. It didn't happen. I think that's – again, I think people hate it when it sounds like we're making excuses for it. This is the situation.
Yeah,
like
the
first 2.5 weeks of training camp, they were just trying to get through a practice. They were at practice number 8, and they were down to 11 scholarship offensive linemen. Austin Sarabeld is with the first team at tackle. That's not a world that anyone wants to live in for Ohio State. He played great at guard, I thought, or maybe grade's too strong. He played very solidly for his first career start at guard.
He wasn't a problem.
I don't think he was a problem. Yeah. So, and that's why I'm sort of curious what that means for him moving forward. Even when Donovan Jackson comes back, is Austin Sarabeld in conversation to be the 6th man? Could he play on the right side? No, there's nothing wrong with what Tegra Shabola did either, but they found out a lot of things.
There's options.
Yeah,
options are not bad. By forcing people into the game, like, hey, this guy played pretty good at guard, and he's played some tackle before. Maybe next week it's like, you know what, Donovan Jackson, I think will be back. Maybe he's not, but it's not a long-term
the way Ryan
concern.
Day put it was day-to-day this week, but that he expected Donovan Jackson to play on Saturday unless he had a setback, which is the most specific information that Ryan Day has given about an injury in multiple years.
I think he could have played in that game had it been.
He went through warm-ups.
Yeah.
He did not.
Had it been him and Cody, probably both.
Yeah, they had their uniforms on.
If we're talking about playing for something of consequence, they would have been playing. If they would have been playing at Florida State, backs against the wall in a must-win week 2.
Well, even if they would have played. If this was,
They would have played.
they were
I
in
hope
the
they would have
exact
played
same.
better than
Unless
Florida
they
State
knew
did
who
with
their
their backs
quarterback
against
was
the
and
wall.
they just said,
They would
I'm
have.
not going out there.
Imagine
with
that
TJ.
there were people, a lot of people.
You could have got that. You could have got that guy.
That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
man,
There-
I know.
there were a lot
What
of people,
happened?
I bet you, if you go back through the social media channels in last December,
Check the receipts.
I bet
bro.
there were a
check
lot of people clamoring for DJ Uiagalelei.
I have been asked about him multiple times in each of the last 2 off seasons, and every time I said Ohio State is not interested in DJ U, and so why would you say that? He was the 5-star of this.
You're a liar.
Like, the tape is what the tape
Yeah,
is.
watch
I
the
don't
game.
know what else to say about it. The guy,
It's rough.
and I've also said, Berm, have I not? I've said that since we saw him in high school, that I did not understand.
We
the hype.
watched him as a junior in high school. We went out there to see Court Williams, and we were like, I'm not sure that's the number 1 quarterback in the country. And that,
Was he
if
the
you-
number 1 quarterback?
at that time, he
Okay.
ended up being ranked number 2 behind Bryce Young, but and then C.J. Stroud ended up 3rd behind him. So interesting 3.
One of those things is not like the other.
Yeah.
When was the last time you can remember Ohio State playing 16 defensive linemen in a game?
And honestly, all of them playing pretty well.
None of them had
That's
like
the good thing, right?
an issue.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like McDonald was in, Hero Canoe. I'm looking, and the thing was, one of the great things I saw is they trying to figure out how to get them all on the field and do different things. They kicked Jack Sawyer into inside on the rushman stuff, which was great. And the other guy they kicked down in there who looked really good, which I was always worried. Tall, athletic guys who are really lean. A lot of times they don't want to come down inside. Kenyatta Jackson, phenomenal athlete. I never thought that he would want to come down in there, but he has the frame to get bigger. I'm like, dude, like, why would you want to rush on a tackle? Go rush on one of these guards.
He's
guys-
looking pretty big though now.
That's what I'm saying. He's big, and he hit that spin move on the inside and came through. I'm like, boom, this is good. This is really good. If you can get a lead on teams and put this group out there to rush these guys,
Good luck to you.
they do not want that. Nobody wants any part of that action.
Yeah, they were fun to watch, and that play that Caden Curry made to
Oh, Caden
force the
played. That's what
fumble.
I'm saying. Caden played great. All Caden does is make plays. Like physically, like, yeah, he's not the tallest guy, probably not the fastest guy, but all he does is get the ball. That was from day 1 of camp when he got here.
Yeah.
Watch him practice. Sack, tip, pick, like just doing everything.
And always being the guy that the offensive linemen hate
Hate
practicing
the
against
most.
the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a pain, and he made Akron feel it with that forced fumble. That really blew the doors open in that game.
Do you
to get
think
to the
they
blowout.
felt that more, or Finley felt more the Lathan Ransom tomahawk chop on the ball more to chest, though, sternum action?
I'm not sure that any of it felt good for Ben Finley.
I feel
he
bad
was
for
I
Ben
don't think he
Finley.
was on the practice field today.
No, I think that guy, like, the first play of the game, dude, like,
He's still in an ice bath.
Igbenogson just buries him.
Yeah.
And then for some reason he decided to come back. And Jack Sawyer made him a personal,
We're in the
like,
shoe. I got to do this for my team.
you know those big things, like the inflatable things that have the sand in the bottom?
Yeah.
Like, that was Jack Sawyer.
The
We
wacky
have one in
arm-
the basement. The
arms,
kids'
yeah.
little punching bags.
It's just, Jack Sawyer was just teeing off on that. Oh, I feel
It
so
was-
bad for him.
yes.
I think remember that old gambling tip, like team the week after they play Alabama. It's like they're going to be so physically worn down.
Beat
Yeah, whoever Akron plays this
Fade
week.
the zips.
But I think that'll be that'll be Ohio State this year because the level of athleticism and the violence that defense is playing with, that's going to take a toll. I think Jack's going to knock 6 quarterbacks out of games.
Bill, who does Akron play this week?
I don't know. Kent State?
Do you know who to?
Are you looking over there? So you're looking at Bill? Like, who are you looking
I
at?
don't know. Nicole actually had the season program in there.
Bill. Oh, good.
Oh, Rutgers.
Ooh.
Take Rutgers in the
Oh
over.
yeah.
Hey, by the
I wonder
way,
what that's-
Rutgers, they might be on their way to 9 wins.
Hey,
after,
now. Yeah.
after watching Virginia Tech lose to Vandy, the Big Ten, honestly, 17-1.
Should have been 18-0.
First loss was the only loss when
I
they
know.
can't make a stinking field goal.
Boy,
The
that was,
fireworks went off then.
USC, I'm going to be honest, USC, I think, went from middle
That
of the
would
pack to
surprise
me
me,
to a
The
top
Alex,
tier
the
contender.
Alex Grinch effect.
Well, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that
When
Lynn,
he gets out of town, all
I
of a
didn't
sudden
know
your
that was
defense gets
Anthony
way better.
Lynn's son, the defensive coordinator, because he was our running back coach in Dallas. I think a lot of him. They looked good.
Yeah.
Now, I think LSU maybe lost some of it as much as USC won it, but they went out there, they played,
Yeah.
they made
They
the
didn't
plays.
lose it, or
They look better on defense. They can run the ball. Penn State, what they did to West Virginia.
It's pretty impressive.
Hostile environment.
Drew
going down
Aller,
there.
like throwing the ball really well down the field. The Big Ten, I think, has 5 legitimate teams.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that Oregon is going to bounce back. I can't imagine that they're able to pass for 380 and not score more than 24 points.
480,
Or
wasn't
even
it?
better.
I think it was
Yeah,
like
it was like a
41 for
record or
48 for 480. It was a bizarre stat line for them to score 24 points against an FCS team. But anyway, I do think you're right. They probably will play better.
Yeah.
Do you guys realize how close they were to like giving that game away to
I know.
Idaho? It's 4th and 7,
I watched
and
it.
they went for it, and they got. Fortunately, Idaho goes offside, so they get a 4th and 2 and score on the next play. Like, number one, why are you doing that?
Well, I don't know. Maybe Dan Lanning consulted Mike Norvell, and they had a conversation
Dude,
about
I mean-
must-have situations. Opening second half,
Weirdly-
4th and 5 on your own 45.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's do
I
this.
think Dan Lanning pretty famously had some issues on 4th down last year.
You're
if I'm
Against
not mistaken.
Washington, yeah.
You're up 17-14 with like 4 minutes to go at your opponent's 22, and you're going for it on 4th and 7.
That's what I'm saying. Not 4th and 2.
Yeah.
4th and 3 or 4, okay. You get 5+, kick the darn ball.
When you
Like,
had not been able to run the ball the entire game. It was very strange. But, I mean, hey, it worked
It
out.
worked
Good
out.
for them. But, yeah, the Big Ten, it's
they
going to be a
won.
fun year.
They got lucky. I mean, and don't look either. I mean, Michigan, who end up looking good at the end.
Did
you have,
they?
You have Fresno. Well, they look good because Will Johnson housed one all the way
Yeah.
back, 86 yards,
Again,
or
so it's
76.
20-4. It's 23-14. They're at the 10-yard line.
getting ready to
With
Going
score.
in to
8 minutes to
score.
go.
Yeah.
And
Takes
all,
it to the
you know,
house.
kudos on Will Johnson for reading a screen.
Oh, he jumped it and went, but
Oh, it's-
they people made some plays. So those are some of the other things that could have been going on if you were a fan of Big State U and your team's supposed to be in national championship contention.
Yeah. It didn't go that way for Ohio State, and they get another chance on Saturday. Prime time, night game, night banger in the
Oh,
Horseshoe
yeah.
against
That's-
Western Michigan.
That's what I'm waiting all day for.
Everyone has
Oh,
been
yeah,
waiting
baby.
for
I gotta
it.
Let's
ask.
go.
So Chip Kelly on Tuesday said the adage, right? The biggest
Week
improvement
one.
a team makes is from
One to
week 1 to
two.
week 2. What is your biggest improvement that needs to be made from week 1 to week 2?
I think just the cohesion on the offense. They've got to be able to run the ball against a team like Western Michigan, Akron, Marshall, Michigan
They
State.
should be able
Like,
to do what they want.
when you line up, if you need to go get 5 yards, you should be able to go get 5
So they
yards.
average 5.2 yards a
Yeah,
carry.
but that's-
some of that's Will Howard.
Yeah.
So running
But-
backs
yeah,
average
And there were
4.5.
some times where
Running backs average 4.5. That's obviously not good enough against Akron, but
because some of those are offset by the 12 and 13-yard gains where I watched Trey jump a dude and then put his foot in the ground and pick up 8 more yards. I want to see a guy making a cut 2 yards down the field, not in the backfield. That's what I want to see is movement of the line of scrimmage. I thought the pass blocking was pretty good.
Yep.
Like we're literally picking nits here. All it is
Oh,
is
100%. Yeah.
the run blocking. I wanted to see more
more
efficient,
movement.
more
I
movement.
wanted
up
to see
front.
the first 3rd and 1 or whatever. Like, hey, 4 yards.
And it's like, yeah,
Take
fourth,
that, here
3rd
we
and
go.
1,
Yeah, it's
5
first
yards,
down,
4
you
or
know.
5 yards.
Yeah.
Go.
I agree with that.
That's
100%.
really it.
I
I
mean,
mean-
because there's really nothing else.
They stole a touchdown
your
from
head
Emeka. Like
Yeah.
JJ
I don't
played
know how that
great.
wasn't a-
Carnell Tate had a touchdown.
Yeah.
Brennan Ennis was getting involved. Like
Yeah.
they've had 4 or 5 guys at the wide receiver position you feel good about. 3 good running backs. People's played really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Will looked good.
That touchdown run was electrifying.
That's what I'm saying. Like they have everything. It's just consistent because they did it at times. But you want to make sure. Like I don't care what you're doing unless you've got 9 guys in the box.
Well,
We should be able to line up and go.
Is it the same for you? or
Yeah,
is there something else?
100%. Yeah, no, I think that is major key, and I think they will get there. At who's going to be playing, who's going to be where. I mean, that's a different ball game, but
There's a chance.
they're
Like,
working on it.
I mean, you could have 2 different guys start. I mean, Donovan being one of them for
Yeah.
Michigan State, or by the time they get to Oregon.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be working through this process up front here for the next 2 weeks.
I want to see
It's a good time to do it.
more attempts at explosive plays on offense. There was one throw, I think, of more than 20 yards down the field. I mean, obviously the
Not
Carnell
till
It
Tate,
was almost a touchdown.
Carnell Tate ends up being a longer touchdown, but that's a catch and
Catch and
run.
run.
It just when you have weapons like that, like I think it's just good to get out there and force the defense to. I think you
Let
really
it rip.
you open up the run game if the defense is worried about you throwing the ball 50 yards downfield, Jeremiah Smith. You know what I mean?
There is
But
truth to that.
Yeah, 100%. I think that ball that he threw that you're talking about, I think that's a touchdown later in the year. I think, he just does maybe not realizing like how far out he needs to put that ball. That should have been a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
maybe just
He catches it right at the goal line.
Jeremiah in
crosses the end
practice maybe running 85, 95%.
zone. Well, it's
Against the Kemp.
It was
it's
I mean,
turned up in game day a
fractionally,
little bit.
yeah.
I mean, I mean, it wasn't a bad ball by any means, but it could have been, like, and he's going to be like, I remember that one now. I'm going to put it out there a little further for him next time.
He can track down just about anything based on what
Yeah.
we've seen so far. Well, is he going to score multiple times again? What's the final score going to be on Saturday?
He's going to score
night?
2 touchdowns every week.
Yeah. Okay.
So get used to that.
Certainly left one on the table. Like he had 2 and could have had a third.
Should have had it.
When I talk about, you give your score prediction first, because I'm trying to not be a slave to the moment where we think, oh, Ohio State is just going to win every game 59-3, because then they go out and play, and I know that their priorities are not the same as what mine would be if I was in charge of them, or if this
You
was
just
a
got to
video
make
game.
sure the ticket clears. I mean,
Right. So like I'm going to say 45-0.
I heard that they're putting betting on NIL dollars to help double them and juice them up.
Probably a
They-
good idea.
That's a smart way to go about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 45-0.
I'm going to say 49-3.
48-3.
I think it's going to be 52-6. I think they're just going to win by that.
Just
I
keep doing that
honestly-
the rest of the year.
every single week.
I know Akron is not very good, but they didn't play near as cleanly as they could have. And if
Yes.
they did, it would
could
have
have
been
been.
70.
I
That's
thought
why I'm
Akron did a great job controlling the football.
Joe Moorhead
I think
has,
he did a nice
has some
job.
plays
Yeah.
that were like,
dude, they're handing off and
Dude,
throwing it back.
I mean, he's
he
keeping
went
up
back to
some
the
stuff on him.
same
I mean,
stuff
it is
that
what it
Oregon
is.
was doing in
Some
the
of
game
those-
in 2021.
That
and it was
backup
like,
that backup quarterback / wide receiver / whatever it was
Yeah.
athletic as all hell. Man.
So my dad goes, "Why'd they take him out? Let this guy just run around."
Because they don't want to get him hurt too.
Ben Finley's probably wondering why they took him out.
yeah.
But I just, it could be higher.
I think
I think this.
They have
the
film
way
on
that college football works now, like you just can't. It is hard. You have to be pure perfection, and you have to keep going up tempo.
And
Like,
you need quick
if somebody
scoring
gets,
drives.
you think about that situation. Like you get 2 first downs for a team that is trying to run the football and get out of an Ohio State game. Bob,
Well, you're
like,
burning a half a
that's
quarter.
6 and 7 minutes.
Yeah.
It's gone. Like
Yeah.
it's hard. You can't let that happen. It's not that you can't ever give up points. You can't even give up a first down, or it's going to be hard to get the ball back.
So I tell my kids in flag football, if you want to play offense, don't let them get first downs on defense,
There you go.
because then we get to go back out.
It's the standard for the Silver
more
Bullets.
plays, more plays.
Standard is the standard for those Silver Bullets on Saturday night against Western Michigan. It is game number 2. It is great to be back in the game week mode in at Roosters in the Horseshoe Lounge. It is a fun, casual joint. Thanks to Nicole Cox and her team. Thanks to Jay-Z, Bob, Berm. I'm Austin Ward. Enjoyed game number 2. We'll be back in here on a Monday next week at Roosters. See you then.